Zone 100 Podcast. My motherfucking man.
My guy, 100 grand.
Stoke, what's up,
Apologize for being late, you know what I'm saying?
Man, cut it out.
guy.
You know, we good. Shit happens, bro.
Shit happens, man. I had to go, do some
Shit happens, man. You know,
good deed.
We're gonna get right to it,
right to
brother.
it, man. Right to it, man.
All right, so we already kind of, you born in Baltimore, but
Born and raised.
how was your childhood growing up?
For the most part, the first half was functional. Then my mom, start being a habitual drug user, things started going down the wrong path. So I guess around 10 years old, my childhood started to decline. Father wasn't there, mother on drugs, in and out of prison, in and out of drug programs, and grandmother stepped up as always, So, it's kind of dysfunctional from 10 years old. 10 years old on up probably to probably 15, 16.
Okay. So you ever experienced because on one of the podcasts I spoke about how we was talking about the crack era and all that, and I spoke about how the most devastating thing from that era was me coming down Christmas and wasn't no toys under the Christmas tree. It was crazy.
I experienced that too, but mine was due to my mother not being present, and I think, her drug of choice was heroin. And back then, cocaine was like a party drug.
Right.
Marijuana was a fun drug, you know what I'm saying? But heroin was habitual.
Yeah.
That's that monkey, you know what I'm saying?
Monk, yeah.
So I remember one time, man, it was plenty of Christmas that, we actually didn't miss, but it wasn't the same because we didn't have, the normal childhood, to enjoy those festivities, holidays and things like that. And it was all because of her addiction, but my mom was a soldier, man. She's one of the strongest people I ever met in my life. Yeah. And I know I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for her. Okay. So everything she went through taught me what not to go through and what not to do, you know what I'm saying? Right. So some of that stuff, is habitual because of, inescapable circumstances in the community. But I watched her so closely so I could perfect my role in life and do the things or not do the things that she was doing.
Okay. So the name Stokey, where you get the name Stokey from?
Well, my father, man, he was one of those black activists back in the day, or who believed in black activism, and he was a big fan of Stokely Carmichael, who, was a black nationalist, and I think my dad liked what he stood for. So back then, if you had a son and you was part of the movement, you wanted your son name to resonate with the powerful black leaders
Stokey
of
Carmichael.
that time. So he named me after Stokely Carmichael,
Okay,
but he gave me Stokely as my nickname and his last name as my first name.
Wow,
that's what I'm saying. So he just mixed it up a little bit.
So what, he was Black Panther?
Yeah, he was part. Okay. I think he was part of the Black Panther movement or part of the Black National movement.
Okay. So you from White Lock?
Born and raised.
Born and raised in White Lock. When I was younger, we was coming up. He was like Stokey. Stokey was synonymous with getting money in White Lock.
I don't know. It's funny, man. I told these good group of guys on the last interview I did, man, about growing up during that time. I don't know if we was making money or making fun.
It was, bro.
Because you think about buying tennis shoes and clothes and. And then when you elevate to another level of drug dealing, you start trying to pay bills and buy cars and homes and things like that. But, my drug dealing experience, I always tell people, came really from my biological father. Mm-hmm. And I just remember him giving me drugs to hold for him. And, I guess back then that was normalized, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Which never should be a thing to do. But, I don't know if I was getting money back then really or just having fun, man, because when you think about what these guys out here doing now and what I did later on in my life, I can tell you honestly that we probably just was in the way. Yeah. When you make, $100, $200, you go Charlie Rudolph, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you're in the way.
Was when I talked to my brother today, we was talking about, I said, bro, it was never about money for me, it was about what money could afford, which was comfortability. I just wanted to be comfortable, I just wanted to have things. You know what I'm saying? And it was the high of getting money. Because it seemed like once I got the money, I was bored.
Yeah, I see for me, again, it depends on what age. Because after 11, 12 years old, I just was supplying habits, food habits, candy habits, sneaker habits, you know what I'm saying? Because I never used drugs or alcohol because of what I seen my family go through. So, but then after a while, when you become habitual, you start to elevate, and then that's when you start to see serious drug dealing, serious money making, right?
Yeah.
And then you gotta take it serious because you owe somebody something, right?
Absolutely.
You know? And then when you purchasing drugs at a high volume, you gotta pay that debt or deal with the consequences.
Absolutely.
And back then it wasn't always death, you know what I'm saying? It's always get cut off,
Yeah.
or, you know what I'm saying, or beat up, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Now,
true. Yeah, now
it's different.
And like for me, like I tell niggas, like, I don't, like, when I got my first brick, it felt like I graduated high school. And I mean, like, people look like, what the fuck?
Nah, man.
It felt like I accomplished something. Like, I got 36 ounces. It felt like I accomplished something.
I dig it, man. For me, we was in the era where as though, you can make as much drugs as you could based off the cutting,
Right.
epidemic. You know what I'm saying? They got the cutting agents. You go 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1. And I mean, gluttony was always associated with my career. And I always wanted more.
More, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I can't remember they had the stuff you would mix the coke with to make it come back.
Come back, yeah. 2,500.
And you buy a comeback and you buy an ounce of that. Now you got 2 ounces. You know what I'm saying?
2 ounces, yeah.
And sometimes you being greedy, you buy 4.
Yeah.
Hopefully getting on trying to go to Virginia and get a car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had my fun, man. But I always tell people your best thinking got you where you are in life. And sometimes even though some of those decisions was pretty much poor, it was based off survival. A lot of people don't understand. You're gonna do what you see. And had I always say, look back on what the community was offering me at that time, that was real prevalent. It wasn't like you had to go far to find it.
Right, man. I just said that, like, survival was reactive. Purpose is intentional. Like, we was reacting like, we had to do.
And it was normalized, man. Everybody wanted to get on because I guess, like I say, when I look at the word fun, hustling right then was fun because you knew you had a chance to get something that you wasn't going to get,
right,
on a normal basis. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have a job. Your father wasn't there, and your mom, she trying to do the best she can do to make ends meet. So, you gonna try to figure it out. And
Absolutely.
I always tell people, man, most of the people I know was raised off survival.
Right.
Then you got some that's raised off love. It's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
You see a pair of Timberland boots, me and you, we see a hustler.
Right.
They see Timberland boots, they see a construction worker.
Yeah.
Right?
Two perspectives.
Two different perspectives, you know what I'm saying?
All right, so what's some of the craziest things you've seen as a child?
Wow, craziest things I've seen as a child. Oh, man, I think, for me, it depends on what age you're talking about. When you say child,
Just let's just say from 12 to 18.
Oh shit, 12 to 18. I mean, to actually see people like physically getting high to me was like a big deal because I'm scared of needles, and putting yourself in that environment, and being traumatized, but not being victimized. You looking at it and you're like, damn, that ain't cool. But then it's like socially acceptable based on the environment you in,
Yeah.
So for me, watching people use, hypodermic needles, watching people get high was crazy for me because I know they was trying to escape something, and I was scared to take that ride. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that was probably one of the most traumatic things I've seen as a child. Somebody actually, and then people might say, well, no, you go to doctors and see needles. No, but to actually see somebody,
Like,
do it in
really,
front of you,
in
man.
front of
Find a vein, not a doctor.
And man, listen, let me add to that, and I agree with you totally. One of the craziest things I seen with somebody getting high was like, I went in this dope house and I served this dude, and he unwrapped his arm, and he had an open wound with maggots in it. See, people don't know maggots you see the wound open.
Yeah.
He took the needle and went straight to the vein inside an open wound. Like, that was crazy to me, bro.
Again, I'm scared of needles and scared of heights. So, like...
I'm scared of heights.
I'm scared of heights, man. So seeing somebody do that was like, wow. I mean, they used to find veins anywhere in their body, But to watch that as a child was kind of like...
That was crazy.
Crazy for
Tell
me.
me. All right, so if you can go back in time and talk to your 17-year-old self, what would you say?
Wear condoms. Man, I had my first son at 17, man, and it's like I never could stop having that. You know what I'm saying, man? But, you know, I had relationships with some beautiful people, man, and some beautiful children was formed, you know what I'm saying? But I probably would tell my 17-year-old child just to listen more, you know, and not make excuses or justifications for what I see instead of for what I know. Because you know things are wrong.
Talk heavy.
And then when you do it, you try to justify it, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I had opportunities to go to college in Mississippi and far south, but I wanted to stay home. But if I listened to my inner self, you know, and not the noise, you know, I probably made some better decisions. Because it starts when you know better, right? You know, you're responsible, but you know. And I knew back then I wanted to be more than what I seen in my community. But sometimes not having the experience of going away, you know, it hit certain triggers and certain fears, or just not making that decision to go away, you know. Now we go away to get away from
Anyway, yeah, we can't wait.
We gone, you know, so can't wait to get out
Back
of it.
then,
You know
like,
what I'm
we
saying?
just loved that neighborhood.
Addicted to the neighborhood, man, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I would tell my 17-year-old self to listen and make better decisions.
Absolutely. All right, so you went from the streets to community leadership. What was that like?
See, I don't know about the leadership part, man. Like,
I mean, that's
well, the reason why I said because, you know, I've done so much wrong to my community in terms of selling drugs and narcotics and aiding and abetting the crime world to a point where as though other folk wanted to do what I was doing because I was successful.
Hold up, say that one more time because I want these people to get what you just said because I feel the exact same way.
No, I'm saying, you know, I perpetuated this narrative of hustling, making it normal for people to think that it was okay.
Right.
You know, you selling drugs, you know, in your community because you feel like that's the way to survive. I could have made better decisions, you know. Of course, you know, I maybe couldn't have got a job working down in Bethlehem still, but I could have worked at McDonald's, you know. I could have delivered newspapers, you know, like some of my friends was doing. But I took the easy route. And in turn, I became so good at it, other people wanted to follow me. And then when you start to perpetuate success at that level, you have individuals who want to do the same exact thing. Same thing with anything with culture. When somebody affects culture in a negative or positive way, and you got people that's willing to follow you, you're looking down on Trump. You got people who want to wear a red hat because they believe in the vision. Then you got those who want to stick their tongue out and dunk from the free throw line because Michael Jordan did that, right?
Exactly.
So when you affect culture or your community, you know, and you could have made better decisions, you got to wear that. So that's why I feel like, you know, I sought atonement, sought forgiveness. Anything I can do in my individual, my official capacity to get back to any community, but especially my own, I'm going to do it. Because I don't want those kids to go through what I went through. And I feel like today it bothers me when I see young men or women doing things that I used to do because it's either learned or taught behavior.
Exactly.
You know, it's a few preconditions, but they saw somebody do it or they learned how to do it from someone else. And I felt like if I was doing what I'm doing now, we had more people about the community, more people trying to do the right thing and be successful without making poor decisions.
Man, and I gotta echo what you're saying, because that's why I do what I do.
Right.
Because I feel like I contributed to this madness. So it's
Exactly.
only right.
Yeah, I broke down, of course, one day I was coming back from Atlanta and a friend of mine had made a post about a little 6-year-old kid getting killed down Lexington Terrace. You know, and it bothered me because I felt like whoever the person was, you know, who committed that crime, you know, whether they did it by mistake or on purpose, a life was lost. And I feel like the gun violence in Baltimore, you know, is like the centerpiece of, you know, the violence, right? But it takes me back to the movie's Juice. When Tupac got away with one, he thought he could kill everybody.
Yeah.
And we condone it because now, you know, they put their behavior on steroids.
Yep.
And now it's like, you know, they're invisible, you know what I'm saying? So for me, that bothered me because I feel like, damn, man, if I was doing what I'm doing now, you know, maybe a lot of people would make different decisions. So when they used to wear a leader or advocate, you know, I just say, you know what, man, I'm just doing what the law give me permission to do, you know.
You turned your pain into your purpose.
That's it, you know what I'm saying? Prayer, you know. And sometimes it's passion too, because I'm real passionate about helping people, you know, and may be my purpose, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So to your point, you know, I think that a lot of people don't know what their purpose is, you know.
Right.
And to me, you'll know when you start doing it.
Yep.
You'll know it. And I just love helping people. And I mean, I'm a gorilla, but I'm a crybaby too. And anytime I see somebody that's in need, man, if I can help, I'm going here first. And sometimes it get me in trouble because I'm not gonna say they don't deserve it, but they might not reciprocate.
Okay.
And I mean, it is like I had an incident when someone put a gun on me, and so many people with platforms didn't check on me. Like, yo, you all right? I'm a grown man, I'm good. I was good, but I only made it public because I wanted the young people to understand it's different ways to handle a situation when it's life-threatening, because you could either take a life or lose a life.
Right.
In that situation, no one lost a life. It was a learning curve, but I wanted to make sure that people understand it's still people out here who do things that need to be checked, or do it the right way.
Right.
So, but people didn't check, they seen it. I mean, million people seen it. But it's people who got bigger platforms than me didn't call and say, you okay? Because they assume I'm going to be all right, right?
Right.
Which I am, Allah got me, but still, it felt good to some of the folk who called me for parties or posts, but like, man, you good? You know what I'm saying? But that's the world.
The thing is, like, I understand exactly where you come from, because when I lost my mother, you showed up.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know you was coming. Because once we did that, that little memorial for my mother, and you was there, I'm like, man, it still came to support me. That was big for me.
And I wish I could be a lot of places, but it's 1,440 minutes in a day, 10,080 minutes a week. I wish I had more time. Sometimes you can, but because I lost my mind. So I want to let you know that was a form of empathy. It wasn't sympathy.
Right, empathy.
It was both, but I knew how you was feeling, you know
exactly.
what I'm saying? And I wanted to be there, you know what I'm saying?
That was big for me.
No, for real, because you deserve, you're a good dude. It's not that many, I always say there's not that many men left. There's a lot of males, not that many men.
Right.
And you're a man, I respect you.
I appreciate it. All right. What lesson from your past you continue to use to guide you today?
I would say my thinking, you really have to change your thinking if you want to change your behavior. Mm-hmm. And I know I wanted more out of life even before I went to prison, but it was an awakening when I was in prison because the world didn't stop. Women go on, kids get older, life, still goes on about its business. So I wanted to be able to make real good, solid decisions and hold myself accountable. So to this very day, I do my best to think before I make an irrational decision, because I know it could be costly. Go back to the situation with, when I was talking about the guy who pulled the gun. So I just use my cognitions, man, to try to help me, make the best decision possible, because, it's people that depend on me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I don't ever want to be, on the opposite side of a conversation where I done something dumb and it affect everything I worked so hard to build.
Exactly. All right. Baltimore have a unique spirit. How would you describe the soul of the city?
Baltimore is not identical to nowhere I've ever been. And they used to call it Charm City, man.
Yeah.
I want to use the word thorough because we have a grit about ourselves that, and a lot of women might not understand this, but you probably can relate to this. Chicago Bears in '85 had the best defense in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And they always said that the NFL, they always say in the NFL defense win championships, right? You look at the Ravens when they had a defense, but that defense in Chicago was like gritty and cruddy and just like, but it was good. Right. And that's what Baltimore minded. We always find a way to figure it out. I just wish we had more of everything. Like we got a few boxes. I wish we had a handful.
Right.
I wish we had a handful of basketball players in the league. Got a handful of football players.
So more kids can see that example.
Yeah, because, again, it's learning taught behavior. If they see it, they can believe it happened. Mm-hmm. If Beyonce walked in McDonald every day, she wouldn't be a celebrity. No one would, break that neck to see it. I could see it at the food shack.
So basically because her value is higher because you don't see it.
That go with anything, you know what I'm saying? Because if you see something every single day, it's natural to you.
Right.
If you don't see it, it becomes iconic because you can't touch it.
You can't touch it.
And when you touch it, you try to hold on to it because you know you're going to touch it again. So that's how celebrities is, But just in general, like when people get money, never had money before, they go crazy, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I first got my first million, I couldn't believe it. I was scared because I said, I don't never want to be broke again. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then you like, oh man, because I hustled my whole life and selling drugs, I don't never think I had $1 million selling drugs.
Me neither, yeah.
But then I got into music, we getting $30, $40 a show. I'm like, whoa, I got to pinch myself because I'm like, this ain't real.
It's crazy.
But then a lot of things I wanted to came to fruition. Then I say, you know what? Let me just try to be the best, entrepreneur I can be and invest in me and some of my ideas, and hopefully things will come to fruition to help me create generational wealth. Because I don't want my kids to have to work hard. If they do, I don't want their kids to work hard. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, I think sometimes, man, we just, like for me, if I use my thinking to your question, it's going to help me have a real decent, healthy life,
Absolutely.
And I can, make the decisions that's going to benefit me in the long term.
Okay. What do people get wrong about Baltimore youth and neighborhoods?
Well, the perception of Baltimore and now this new terminology with YNs is that, again, like I say, you got a lot of kids that's raised off love and a lot of these kids raised off survival. And most of these kids just want somebody to love them and be understood. But what happened is, we talk about them so much and don't talk to them. And most of the kids that I have had the opportunity to talk to, I understand because I used to be, where they were, age-wise anyway, right?
Right.
But, a lot of these kids, man, are going through things a little different than what we went through because, back then, you had somebody that could grab you, whether it be a family member, a community next to them. Where you at? I'm over Aunt Joanne's house. Well, I'm next door to Tony's house. That was cool. You could knock on Tony's door and get butter. They don't do that no more.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
ain't knock on nobody's door and get no more
I used to
butter or
hate
bread.
that shit. Go next door and see if they got some sugar.
Exactly. But that's how community, that's what community was.
Right.
So to me, the misconception is that these kids are outcasts and they can't change, and they can.
You think that the federal system took away the big homie? Wow, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think the federal system was a gamble. What I mean by this, right? I think it's like shooting dice. 10 only come two ways, right? 7 come multiple ways on dice, but you still gamble when you get a 10 because you're stuck. You got to try to hit your point.
right.
When you living in Baltimore or you living a life of crime and you're in the streets and your hustle is selling drugs, you know that if you get caught or if the feds come in, the chances of beating the case is slim to none. And when they in '86 came out with the no parole guideline, that was intended for.
So it was parole before that?
Yeah, it was parole. They used to have parole. Did they stop parole in? I think it was '86. I think Reagan stopped it in.
That was at the crack era?
That was when it was a war on drugs. I think his first term, and then I think in '86, yeah, I think 86 is when no parole. '86, '87, no parole. And then because you used to get parole, people used to call it Fed Club Fed.
Yeah, I mean it was sweet when I went through. Like compared to the state.
Yeah, they robbed the banks. Nah, you had 10 years, you get out in 2. They had parole. Yeah, back in there, yeah. Man, makes people rob banks and go to the feds, man, come on, get parole, you know what I'm saying, all that kind of stuff. But then they changed it because they say, no, we're going to be tough on crime. And now, you got to do 85% of your time. I heard they got, second chance and this and that,
they got
programs and all that. But
what we went through was 85%.
Yeah, but it was 85%, and so I can attest to the fact that some people have been victimized by the system. But sometimes, when we gamble and we crap out, we got to pay the consequences. Because we already know what's
right
at the end of that, you know what I'm saying? So I think, the federal government, we gamble with the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that's a good choice.
When that joint said, my name versus the United States, I couldn't believe it. Me versus the United States.
For me, it was the flag, man. You go to court, man, you look at that big flag.
You looking like what? And then the judge sits up like, it's crazy.
The courtroom
man.
I went to, they had a visible door on the wall. And I remember he just walked through the wall and we had to jump up, But it's funny you talk about prison, and not just kids. I was telling my every day, right? And I know you can attest to this too.
Right.
It's so many emotional deceptions, right? Because you can't cry in prison.
No, you can't.
Like you can't get a letter, got the phone, and go to the TV room and cry.
Yeah.
So you suppress those feelings for so long.
Yeah.
And then when you come home, you finally want to be able to release, because that's a normal feeling. Allah created that feeling for us for a reason, and we as
to
men,
heal.
Right, but sometimes it's celebration, you be happy,
Yep.
it's an emotional, reaction to certain things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But think about it, you might see somebody cry in prison if they got, bad news.
Somebody died, yeah.
But you ain't gonna say, what's wrong, Oh man, get no visit. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I'm
Nigga
saying?
hate that
Because
chat
now
and
you
go,
become
right.
soft.
Right.
So you think about how that's transitioned back to the streets where we got to put this mantra on, and a lot of these kids are crying inside, man, for somebody to hear them or heal them, and they just don't get an answer. Right. So now they turn to each other and they form these gangs, they form these camaraderies where they'll believe and love each other.
Right.
And you almost can't blame them. And I always tell you about my favorite parable about the lion, man. They lions out here trying to survive.
Yeah.
And you really can't be mad at them.
And my only thing is that, I just wish more guys like us who kind of like been through the fire and came on like to help these kids, man, because a lot of dudes be like, I ain't trying to deal with these kids. I'm like, bro, but you was worse. I knew you when you was 17 and 13 and 14. You know what I'm saying? I knew that.
It do get frustrated sometimes because they don't listen, but neither did we. And I feel like, nothing in life is going to grow if you don't invest in it.
Right.
A tree get taken care of by the earth. It rains, it take care of it. If you buy a plant and don't water it, it's going to die. If you see these kids out here and you don't give them love, they're going to grow to be something you're going to hate and regret. So you got to invest in it. And I wish more guys would participate and be more engaged with these kids as well, because you don't never know who life you could be saving.
Exactly.
It might be your own, it might be your child, it might be theirs, But oftentimes we stay away because we're afraid of the reaction, And these, like somebody said something so funny, he's like, man, the school superintendent scared the principals, the principals scared the teachers scared the parents scared the kids, and the kids ain't scared of nobody. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow, that's so true, man. Yeah. So, but it's definitely a different time, You think about, the Atari games, these kids ain't playing no games no more, man. They out here surviving, doing what they need to do, man, to make it. And it's sad, but it's a reality that you gotta accept.
Exactly. You are vocal about violence prevention. What's not working and what is working?
Well, first of all, man, as I said before, man, I want to get Brandon his flowers. Brandon has created, a system that allows us to believe that it can work, right? Because the proof is in the pudding. So I want to definitely give him, his props. I also want to thank Ivan Bates. I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the city. Anybody, the community, guys like you, anybody that's contributing to a conversation or putting in the work, the Uncle T's of the world, right?
Right.
Giving everybody, you got guys like Rel who I know he do so much for his kids, and his program. So many hands on deck, but we don't get enough credit because it's not consistent. And the thing about it is, because there's so many people you got to help. But I think what's not working is what you said earlier. A lot of us are not stepping up. We minding our business,
right? And
this is our business, and we got to find a way to get involved and engaged and stay that way until we solve the problem. Because you can't fix something unless you know how it works. And maybe you know how it works. And I think if we get more people like us involved, you're gonna see even more crimes decline. But I gotta give those guys credit for what they're doing. And I'm happy that me and Brandon finally, got on the same page, Whoever reached out, I got so much respect for him now because I thought we would be on the same team at one time because, I'm not a politician, but I want to see him win. If he win, the city win.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing with the police commission.
Right.
If he win, the city win, But you got some people, man, some politicians, that be so emotional when they find out you ain't vote for them or this and that, then they want to cut you off for life. Well, a lot of them people I ain't vote for because I ain't know them.
Right.
And I voted for people I thought had my best interests as well as my community, right? Yeah. And if they won or lost, I go with that, right? So, but I think what Brandon is doing, I think we need to support the brother where he's at.
Absolutely.
Understand what Ivan is doing, is working, thanking the governor for making sure that the money is allocated where it needs to be at and making sure that he has, our best interest when it comes to the federal government trying to allocate resources and things like that to keep this machine going. And for the first time, we got 3 black brothers, man. And I'm so proud of them, man.
I never even thought of that.
We got 3 black brothers for the first time in my lifetime running.
So who was the man when you was it Kurt Smoke or
when I was in jail?
No, when we was young, like 6 to 8. What was it?
No, it was William Schaefer. It was Schaefer.
It was Schaefer. Then
after Schaefer left, DuBurns came in for a minute, and then I think Kurt Smoke.
He only had like one.
He came in.
I know Kurt Smoke was a minute.
He came in because I think when Schaefer became governor, and then he came in, and then Smoke beat him out. And then when Smoke left, I think it was O'Malley and Sheila, you know.
Right, okay.
We had a bunch of women, you know what I'm saying? We got Jack came in after Captain Pugh, you know, resigned, and then you got Brandon who won, you know, the first election out here in second term. But we also got, you know, an opportunity, man, and I'm gonna do my best. I hope y'all can hear me. Brandon, Ivan, and you know, the governor, man, you know, I want y'all brothers to come together, man, show the city, man, and what y'all doing is working together, man, and let everybody know that those brothers, you know, deserve their flowers simultaneously. Don't try to divide them and say what this person not doing, what that person not doing. Right. Because in my eyesight, they all doing a wonderful job, man. And I appreciate, you know, the fact that they are even taking, you know, the heat for when they don't do a good job, right? Mm-hmm. But right now they're doing a good job and we need to give them their flowers.
Okay. What does real leadership look like to you?
Truth, transparency. When you're honest with people and you can look in their eyes and tell them what's not going to happen and not allow them to mislead them, you know. And if you're talking about, and even at work, like, you know, I had a meeting yesterday with two of my bartenders and I was explaining to them, man, we got to change the culture. And it starts with me. I got to be responsible for what I invest in you guys, whether it be my vision or my resources. So I got to hold myself accountable when I see things not working because it's going to follow me anyway. But leadership, man, you know, is difficult sometimes because people don't like the truth. You know, I was telling somebody about relationships, right? And it's so crazy, man. You cheat so long
right,
that you normalize it. And then when you don't gotta cheat no more, your behavior stay the same. So it's women that deserve the flowers, dinner dates, and etc. But you don't do it because you're still in that cheating mode. Well, once you unlearn that behavior,
you gotta learn
and start, you know, doing what you can do, then your behavior will change because some people are so caught up in what they think they doing or used to do is working, but they don't see themselves. Like sometimes, like, you know how like we wore hats in jail at the bed.
Right.
You see these little kids out here now, I can understand why, like, yo, they wearing ski masks in summertime. It don't make sense to a lot of other people, but I know we do that in the prison, right? You know, not ski masks, but hats, you know, in the summertime. But, you know, real leadership to me is holding yourself accountable, man, and doing a good job that people want to follow you.
I agree. Leadership, to me, is, like I just said on my last episode, is service, not control.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm here to serve. Like, how can I make you a better human being?
Man, my baby mother, man, shout out to my baby mother, Had told me when we had our son, she said, I said, why you have a baby by me? She said, I don't want to have a baby by you. I want to have a child so he can do a better job in this world than I did. That was deep, man.
That was me.
That was deep. And I mean, that's I stand on that because I think that's what it was about, you know. Yeah, when she dropped that on me, she's like, yeah, I want to have a child so he or she can do a better job in this world than I did.
All right, so what motivated you to run for mayor, and what you learned from it?
It wasn't even, well, when I say motivation, I'm gonna use the word determination. I was determined to do it because I wanted to show people what change looked like. During that time, we had the Black Lives Matter movement going on, and it was after the first uprising in Baltimore, Freddie Gray, and I felt like a lot of people.
You know, I was in the feds, and how was that situation? I heard it was like crazy.
Wow. Well, I was on the ground, and I just remember a guy telling me, a little guy named Tony telling me, man, my friend got beat up by the police, so we need you. At the time, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, okay, well, but they always looked at me as being a vocal leader who had a good rapport with police, and they expect me to say or do something to get some answers, bring clarity to the situation. And before I know it took a life of its own. And then when everybody started talking about it, we started protesting, we started, demonstrating, things like that. And a lot of provocateurs were coming to Baltimore. I knew I had to do something. And sometimes I always tell people, Allah don't never tell you what to do, he tell you where to go.
Okay.
And you will figure out what you gotta do when you get there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So God said, go to Penn North. And when I got there, I knew I had to try to, or do my best to, negotiate with the men and women, not to tear our city apart and lead by example and say, listen, we can get the results we want if we come together. This is our opportunity. So we came together, and unfortunately, it's not the results or turnout I like, because Baltimore was on display for the world to see, and I felt like there was a time to get all the resources together and make sure we don't turn back. But as you can see, Penn North is still Penn North. Yeah. So can't blame Brandon because it happened before.
We just was up Penn North protesting and speaking maybe about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm tired. I'm tired of marching. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But the work is not done, so you sometimes gotta do what you gotta do. But once that was resolved and life went on, and then in 2019 I had went to my son's school, and he was going to Roland Park, and he was 6 years old, man. And my son was he's so smart, and he always let his behavior interfere with his education. So he was on timeout, and everybody else was outside playing. So I was like, yo, what you do today? He like, I was talking. I said, listen, because I had already made the decision to move to LA to further my management career and work inside Rock Nation. And he said, come on, Stoke, I'm out there looking for apartments. I'm about to go. I'm telling my son, you keep getting in trouble. You ain't gonna be able to go with me to LA. So he like, Dad, but why you want to go to LA? I said, man, because it's better opportunity, man. He said, Dad, but is it because of the murders? I said,
damn.
What? He said, is it because of the murders in Baltimore? And I said, no, I left out, got in the car and started crying because like my son now is traumatized by what's going on in my city, and I never even knew that he was paying attention. Right. And we was already on another 300 homicides that year, walking up on it anyway, 200-something homicides. It was dead June. So I called Emory, shout out to Emory Jones, and I told him, ask Jay, do they think I should run for mayor? And they said, man, you got two choices. You can either stay and lead, or you can leave and regret it. I stayed in that lead. I led. I made an announcement on June 1st I want to run for mayor because I really wanted to show everybody, not just in politics, but your mother died at age, your father went to jail for 12 years. If I went through that and turned my life around, you can too. There's no excuse because anybody gonna feel sorry for you and anybody gonna come. But I want to use that platform during that time to bring attention to change. Wasn't about politics for me because I tell you all the time, you go to the roof and you start yelling, you're gonna look up. And we're gonna try to figure out what he about to do up there. Right. So once he gets your attention, it's on him to tell us or give us a message. We watching. So I felt like everybody was watching during that time because we had George Floyd. It was a new term because the former mayor was prosecuted, so we needed a new leader going in a different direction. And I wasn't trying to win. I hate to say that because I don't know if I think I wasted that vote, but I really wanted to show everybody what can be done. Right. You wanted to be an example. That's it, man. And then, like I said, I wanted to get out in December that year, but guys like Dr. Bunley, man, said, no, Stoke, you got to finish. Whatever you do, just finish. Just finish. And the minimum, I just wanted to finish and I finished. Okay. Talk heavy. All right, do it. How do we stop glamorizing violence and instead elevate peace and purpose? I think social media has a platform that me and you cannot control because it has a life of its own where people are using it to advertise and commercialize, the violence that we see every single day. It used to happen in the movies. We talk about it in our music, we see it on TV. But when it happened in your community, it's like that. We really became immune to it. Somebody get killed right now, and you'll look at your clock and say, what time the game come on? Yeah. Yo, Lil Rogers got killed. For real? Sure, it was cool. Now it's happening so much, you normalize to it. So I think what you do, it really is be accountable for what we report and how we report news and not be so desensitized. But that comes from experience. Like I can't tell you how to feel. You see it so much, it doesn't bother you anymore, And one of the ways to change it is stop killing people, stop committing violence, stop committing crime, and give us something else to talk about. Right. If you can change one thing in Baltimore, what would it be? I want to change our nightlife, and if I could have two, give us a basketball team. All right, so I'm down with the basketball team. Please give us a basketball team. Right. But what you mean by change the nightlife? Because we don't really have a nightlife like DC. We don't have we don't have a plethora of clubs. We have a few restaurants, but they're not really owned by a lot of people who don't like us. And I feel like, once we start investing into things that we use, and make it plentiful, you'll start seeing the growth margin, in our favor because we patronize people all the time. We want to go down by the harbor, but there's not that many black-owned restaurants down there. You know, they might be operated by black folk, not that many black folk, but I want to see us own more in our city. And hopefully we find a way to support each other so we can actually grow. Our dollar leave our pocket. Leave our hands as soon as we get in our pocket on something, you know. So I just